All right, today we're jumping into a really powerful sermon that breaks down a famous story from the Bible. It's all about suffering, a broken system, and one single traumatic encounter that changed absolutely everything. Let's dive in. So get this number in your head, 38 years. That is how long the man at the heart of our story had been an invalid. I mean, can you imagine nearly 4 decades just stuck, waiting? This isn't just a random detail, it's the foundation for a story about just deep, relentless suffering. And the setting for all this? The Pool of Bethesda. The speaker we're analyzing makes it crystal clear. This was no peaceful, healing spa. It was, in their words, a place of profound human suffering and desperation. Just a crowd of people clinging to one last, desperate hope for a miracle. So let's really set the scene here, focusing on this bleak environment. The speaker paints this incredible picture of a place that, you'll see, was anything but what its name suggested. You see, the whole system at this pool was just brutal. The superstition was that an angel would come down and stir the waters, and only the first person to get in would be healed. Think about that. It's a cruel, competitive free-for-all that basically guarantees that the weakest, like a man who can't walk, would be left behind, time and time again. And here's the kicker, the central irony of the whole situation. The name Bethesda literally means house of mercy. A house of mercy, but the reality on the ground was a desperate scramble. The speaker really hammers this point home to show how the system itself was completely failing to offer any real mercy at all. Now, the specific location here is absolutely key. The speaker argues that the writer of this story, John, isn't just giving us map coordinates. Nope, he's using the geography to make a massive theological point. The story specifically mentions that this all happens near the sheep gate, and according to the speaker, that's no accident. This was the entrance where animals were brought in for sacrifice. John uses this detail to symbolize the entire old religious system, a system of rituals and sacrifices that were always temporary, always needing to be repeated. So this sets up this incredible contrast, which is really central to the speaker's entire message. You've got the old system on one side, represented by the sheep gate and its temporary rituals. And on the other, you have the new system that Jesus brings, permanent, complete healing through a direct personal encounter. And this contrast gets even more stark when you look at who was where. The religious leaders? Well, according to the speaker, they were just 200 yards away in the temple, going through their rituals. But Jesus wasn't there. Where was he? He was at the pool, right in the middle of the broken, the rejected, and the hopeless. Okay, so this brings us to the turning point. After setting this whole scene of failure and desperation, the speaker zooms in on the exact moment Jesus shows up on the scene and everything, and I mean everything, changes. And the speaker really emphasizes this choice. Jesus doesn't go to the grand, ornate temple, the center of religious power. He walks right past it. Why? Because, as the speaker puts it, Jesus isn't concerned about geography. He's concerned about people. His focus is on human suffering, not on buildings. So he gets to the pool. He finds this one man who's been there for 38 years, and he asks this incredibly simple, direct question. Do you want to be healed? It's a question that just cuts through decades of pain and hopelessness and gets right to the point. But the man's answer tells you everything you need to know. He doesn't say yes. Instead, he just explains why the system is broken for him. He's basically saying, it's impossible. The speaker reads this not as a statement of faith, but as a confession of total, complete despair. This man has given up. Jesus doesn't get into a debate about the broken system. He doesn't try to convince the man. He just bypasses all the hopelessness and speaks 3 commands with absolute authority. Get up, take up your bed, and walk. This isn't a suggestion. It's a declaration of a brand new reality for this man. And this leads to such a crucial insight from the speaker. The healing had nothing to do with the man's faith, because frankly, he didn't have any left. It was an act initiated completely by Jesus to show his authority over sickness and to present himself as the real answer to the broken system that the pool represented. But hold on, the story isn't over yet, not by a long shot. Let's move into the aftermath, because the speaker argues that the physical healing, well, that was just the beginning of a much, much deeper transformation. So the man is instantly healed, right? And immediately it causes a huge controversy because he did it on the Sabbath. But the speaker points to what happens next. A little later, Jesus intentionally seeks this man out and finds him again, this time inside the temple. And when Jesus finds him, he says something very specific. He says, "See, you are made whole." The speaker zeroes in on this phrase, "made whole," because it's not the same as just being healed. So what's the difference? Well, the speaker explains that being healed fixed the physical problem, the paralysis. But being made whole, that addressed the man's entire being, his soul, his spiritual condition, maybe even the root issues that led to his situation in the first place. It was a complete top-to-bottom restoration. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? What are we supposed to do with this story? The speaker boils it all down into a really direct and personal message of hope for all of us.
First, it's about being seen. In a massive crowd of suffering people, Jesus picked out one man. The message here, according to the speaker, is that just like Jesus saw that individual's specific long-term struggle, he sees yours too.
And it's more than just seeing, it's knowing. He knew the man had been there for 38 long years. So the message is one of deep personal empathy. He doesn't just see your problem now, he knows the whole history of the pain that goes with it. And finally, there's this powerful promise. Remember, the man had no faith left. He had no hope, no ability to help himself at all. And yet, Jesus showed up anyway. The point is just incredible. Even when our own faith is failing, Jesus' purpose for us prevails. He will show up. And this all leaves us with the speaker's final challenging question for us to think about. By contrasting the formal religious temple with Jesus' actions among the broken, he forces us to ask, have our modern institutions, our traditions, become more about themselves than about the actual people they're supposed to be serving? It's a tough question, and one worth sitting with.